Hi there, my name is Marty Owings. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at these Caran Swisscolor water-soluble pencils. Now it's certainly true that Caran makes a lot of pencils. And if you're a little confused about all the different kinds of water-soluble pencils they make, Museum Aquarelle, Swisscolor, Prismalos, Fancolor, Supracolor 1, Supracolor 2, there's just a lot of pencils. Some of those lines have been discontinued, but some of them are still going. I did a comparison back in 2016 between Fancolor and the other pencils, and I think really these Swisscolor pencils are very much like the Fancolor pencil. But here I did a comparison to many different kinds of colored pencils just to give an idea. And I'll do more of that today in the video, but I just wanted to show you a clip of the video I did before just so you have a rough idea. And so I compared it to some of the leading colored watercolor, water-soluble pencils of the day back in 2016, and not a lot has changed with the pencil, the leading manufacturers, or the formula used for those colors. Of course, the Caran makes a very high-end line. The Museum Aquarelle pencils are probably some of the best watercolor pencils made. And then they have the Supracolor and now the Supracolor 2 pencils, which are really good as well. Even if some of the names have changed, most of these pencils are still on the market today. So let's take a closer look at this Swisscolor pencil. Well, it has a hexagonal body. It's got a matching body color. It's got cedarwood casing, a 2.8 millimeter thinner core, but they didn't put the color name on the pencil, which I always encourage manufacturers to do because some people are colorblind and they just like the name there. Pencil is not capped on the end, as you could see, so it's not really one of the higher end pencils from Caran, but even at a student grade or even a child's pencil, Caran really does a good job of making high quality products and loading really good pigment into their pencils. It's not going to be as strong as a Museum or a Supracolor colored watercolor pencil, but it'll be comparable to other student grade pencils that are out on the market, and maybe even a little bit better because Caran does, as I say, manufacture really great products and they put a lot of care into them, and the pigments are great and strong. So here what I'm doing is just swatching out the colors a little bit in the dry form so you can see what they look like as they just go down as a normal pencil. And then later on, I'll just add some water and we'll swatch these out. All right, here we go. Just a touch of the water and we'll get real close here. And you can see that it really kind of melts with the water there, which is really nice. There's very few lines left over or remnant lines when you add water. Now the colors obviously aren't as vibrant as some watercolor pencils. Again, the Swisscolor is a student grade, which I believe basically replaced the old Fancolor or maybe even a child's pencil. I'm not exactly sure. And Caran website is a little confusing. I'm not going to lie, but as you look here, even with the darker colors, you're getting rid of a lot of the pencil remnant here. So it's still really good quality. I really like the products that Caran makes, and I really like what you can do with these pencils and exploring just how they work. And even when you're starting with watercolors, one of the great benefits of using watercolor pencils is that you can be a little bit more precise with them than say you could with just watercolors alone. And that sometimes helps people build confidence when they're going into watercolor work. One other thing I wanted to do here was give you kind of a side-by-side with Supracolor. That would be the grade up, just below maybe Museum Aquarelle. But the Supracolor is a very nice pencil. I use it a lot in my work, especially for drawing preliminary sketches and then maybe doing some graphite washes and things like that. But I had a hard time finding an exact match. The Supracolor I have is a sepia, and since the color name isn't on the Swisscolor, I just kind of had to guess. So I tried to get as close as I could. And what I'll do is I'll use both of these side by side so that you can see directly how they sort of stack up against each other. Again, these both are Caran d'Ache pencils. One is considered maybe their student grade or child's pencil, and the other one is their really higher grade artist type pencil. You know, there's Supracolor and then there's Museum, and those are their two really nice artist grade pencils. And they, of course, they have different price tags too, so that's good to keep in mind. So first I've done here is I've just used the pencil to kind of swatch out the Swisscolor here. And then next I'll use the Supracolor. And they're both, I mean, that was as close to sepia as I could find in the set. By the way, that's a 30 color set I think I have here. So they come in like 12, 18, 30, and or maybe there's a 24 color set, then the 30, and then there's 40 colors. So I think there's 40 colors in the complete line of Swisscolor. So yeah, this is Supracolor 2. Again, just going to do another comparison here so that we can add water, swatch this out, and we'll see exactly what they look like side by side. I like the way they both go down. It's got a nice feel to it. Both pencils are just fine. I think I do notice a little bit more comfort in my hand when I'm using the Supracolor, and also the color just goes down a little bit more smoothly. It might be a result of the thicker barrel, or actually the barrel is a little bit thicker, but the lead itself as well. So it's got a nice core, and these pencils last a long time too. So there you go, just fill that in, and now I'll add the water, and you can see exactly, you'll get a good idea of the difference of these two. So I'll start with the Swisscolor here, just coloring in this area of the swatch square here. Just going to grab a little bit more of this color. And you can see that it dissolves nicely. I mean, I think that property Caran d'Ache has down very, very well. You can see as I wet them, they're quite a bit different in color. It's kind of like a warm brown for the Swisscolor and this sepia for the Supracolor 2. But as you look here, you can see side by side, there's quite a bit of difference in both dissolvability and how smoothly the color lays down in the two side-by-side comparisons. There's a close-up view, and you can see there's quite a bit of difference. There's not as much granulation on the Supracolor, obviously. And just for testing purposes, let's just do another little bit here. I apologize for the screen camera movement there, but the table's kind of shaking as I lay down the line. So the first one is the the Swisscolor on the left, and then the one on the right is the Supracolor. So Swisscolor, add a drop of water there. Just kind of seeing if there's any line remnants left over as I add, and you can see there is. Also a little bit of granulation there. And next I'll do the same thing with the Supracolor. Now I was pretty roughing those lines in pretty hard, but you can tell right away there's a difference in the quality, not only of the pigment, but in the dissolvability and the remnants of the lines. They aren't quite dry yet, but you get the idea. One other thing I like to try is erasability, because some people, will draw and they'll want to erase something in their drawing. So just swatch these out here, draw a couple of, use the pencil for a couple of swatches here. Again, on the left is the Swisscolor, and on the right is the Supracolor 2. I'm going to use a standard eraser here. I think that's a Faber-Castell, actually. Might be. Nice erasability there on the Swisscolor. And we'll see how well. Again, a little darker color with the sepia, so you might see a little bit more, but not too bad. You'd have some remnants, but it wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, I think the side-by-side comparison really kind of tells the story between the two pencils. Let's try to sharpen this Swisscolor up. It sharpens pretty nicely. There's no real breakage or anything like that. I didn't have any problems with that. The sharpener, my sharpener here, it's kind of old. It might be a little dull, but I had to put a bit of pressure in it to get a nice point. But eventually I did, and it worked out fine. So they sharpen up nice. It's good California cedar wood, which is pretty good if they do it right and they source it right. And this is a nice casing on this pencil. So Caran didn't cheap out on that, that's for sure. Here I'd like to put it to use in a sketch. So I want to sketch this tree out a little bit. I'll use several colors from the set in sketching this pine tree out. And we'll see what that looks like. Well, it's been fun using these Swisscolor pencils. I think if you're an artist interested in more artist grade pencils, you could save up a little bit more and buy some better pencils. These are kind of expensive for student grade, at least they are here in the States. However, if you were just going to do, you just wanted to get into watercolor pencils a little bit more and experiment a little bit, or you have a young person who's just starting out and you want a higher quality student grade pencil, then these are probably a really good fit for that. You're going to spend a few bucks more, but you're going to get better quality with Caran, and they're a company you can trust to produce good pencils. That's it for today. That's where we'll leave it. This is Marty for owingsart.com.